All right. How we doing, guys? I hope everyone's doing good. I know things are crazy with quarantine, but I'm hoping that you guys will get a lot out of this college webinar today. We're going to kind of go over just a general introduction to college hockey. What does that mean? What do I need to do to play college hockey? Just answer kind of a lot of these questions that I think a lot of us as Kachinas, definitely have. And for those of you that are on the call, I know that some of you, we've already kind of started this process, but we haven't necessarily been through the entire thing yet. And so for those of you that are on here that we might not have started this process, it's going to be a really good introduction for you guys, in regards to what does this all mean? What do I need to do to play college hockey? What does it take to play in college? There's a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot that goes into developing, your college process, and that starts, when you're young. And so we might have some young, maybe, some of our 12s, our 14s, and of course our 16s and 19s. So we'll jump right in. The goal of the call today is really to take you through a little presentation I have, and then kind of the back half, we'll open it up to questions. So as you have them, though, please feel free to enter them in the questions box. And then I've got Christina on the line here too, so she'll be fielding those questions at the end. So as you have them, feel free to chat them in. So we'll get going here. There we go. So why are we talking about college hockey? And when the first slide is being a student athlete. So there's a lot that goes into being a college athlete. But there's a reason that student comes before student athlete, and I think that we need to take some time to really dive into. In order for us to even be able to play college sports, we need to succeed in the classroom. And there's the power of being a student athlete is pretty powerful, and you guys, it's quite a privilege. You get opportunities that other people don't. But that all starts with how successful you are in the classroom. And in my opinion, it really comes down to these four main pillars. So clearance and team GPA. If you want to play in the NCAA, and again, we'll go over our options here, but there is a clearinghouse that you need to get through to go through the Division I process. You need a 2.3 to get that, and I know that we are very fortunate in our association where every athlete I'm working with currently has a much higher GPA than that, so I'm not too worried about that. But outside of just general clearinghouse, there's much higher team GPAs. That's going to vary by team. When I played, we needed a 3.2, and the NCAA only obviously requires us to have a 2.3. So every coach is going to have a different rule. And it's really important that you guys take that very seriously. Otherwise, you won't be playing. And so the whole point of being a student athlete is to, of course, succeed in the classroom and on the ice. And then in addition, there might be some different league GPAs for obviously D1, D3, and then ACHA. So it's important to keep your grades up for you to be even on the ice and actually participate in being a student athlete. It also affects you with scholarships. And so scholarships means a few different things, and it means something different to everybody. Financial freedom is a really nice thing. If you can get as much money as possible to help you out so that when you graduate, you're closer to being debt-free, trust me, you will want that. So doing well in the classroom is going to qualify you for higher grants and different things that you can get to help keep those costs down during those 4 years, potentially 5 years. And managing student debt, there's good debt and there's bad debt. In my opinion, I think student debt is obviously good debt. But like I said, if you can eliminate some of that so that when you graduate and you get into the real world, you have less to pay off, it's a really nice feeling. So doing well in the classroom is going to help you guys, qualify for more scholarships. And actually less than 2% even receive athletic scholarships. So it's a very small number. That I think it's just good to kind of keep that in mind for you guys. You really need to perform in the classroom because athletics aren't going to be the one to really get you through your 4 to 5 years. Personal development, school gives you a lot of things that, athletics won't, right? So just developing good habits and establishing time management skills, and then obviously preparing for what, your life is going to look like after college. I think school is so important for that. There's a lot of things that hockey teaches you, but there's a lot of things that just being a student teaches you as well. And in regards to what your life is going to look like after those 4 or 5 years, you're going to have to get a career and internships and networking. And again, just that overall post-college success preparation starts in the classroom. So I can't stress enough how important it is that you guys do well in the classroom before we even start talking about our hockey options. This is incredibly important. This is typically where I share a little bit about myself and my kind of path. I think a lot of you on the call probably know, but those that don't, I did not do a very good job of this. I didn't do a very good job of managing my schoolwork, and I thought that hockey was my key to everything in life. And so I lost my opportunity to play Division I, even though that's all I was working towards as an athlete, because I didn't do well enough in the classroom. And I ended up playing Division III, which was the best thing that ever actually happened to me, and I'm really proud of that. But, you know, I think that goes to show you, like, if you don't take your academics seriously enough, you know, the whole hockey thing won't really matter very much. So I think that's really important. And we'll kind of move into, you know, your options, what this means to be a female ice hockey player at the college level. We've got the NCAA and the ACHA. They're two very different routes, but they're both incredibly competitive. And I think that's really important to stress here. You know, I think that the ACHA, while it technically is on the club side, the challenge that it brings and the talent level that is now there, it's really not your typical club sport compared to some of the other sports that you often see, you know, this with. So after talking with a lot of ACHA coaches this year, you know, they're really trying to get away from the word club, because a lot of these programs that are really competitive are really trying to just get away from that and just call it the ACHA, because that's what it is. It's a really competitive place to play. And depending on what you're looking to get out of your college experience, one of these two options is going to make sense for you. So we'll start with the NCAA. There's Division I and Division III. They're both very different options, but they do fall under the NCAA. You can kind of see here the main differences. Division I is a smaller, you know, we've only got 5 conferences compared to 9 with Division III, and 41 teams compared to 68 teams. So Division III is you know, larger, and I know that they're continuing to build on that, and Division I is also continuing to build on that. So there's a lot of different options there. It's a full week commitment. I put 6 to 7 days a week. 6 because the NCAA does technically only allow students to go 6 days a week with organized sports. But it's a full 7-day-a-week commitment. It is a full-time job. I mean, you're managing a full class load on top of, you know, your full-time job of being a student athlete. So we'll dive into that a little bit more as well. And then there's a lot of recruiting rules and timelines that you have to follow. And we will go over that as well. But compared to the ACHA, there's Division I and Division II. There's Division I is more so the priority. Division II it's certainly a real thing. There's 53 teams, but they're not all legitimate teams. Just to be transparent, D2 is more of your like true club teams. I mean, out of those 53 teams, there's some teams that played like 3 or 4 actual games. So, you know, I don't do too much work with a lot of our Kachina girls because they have a lot of talent, which is awesome. So we primarily kind of focus on the Division I ACHA side. But again, everyone's process is different. This is going to look different for everybody. But it is a lesser of a commitment. So most of your average ACHA schools are 3 to 4 days a week. And, you know, like your more top 10 Division I ACHA ranked schools are closer to the 5 or 6 day a week. Obviously, being a student athlete, I think we need to be committed to this every day of the week. But in regards to like your ice time, practices, games, the overall schedule, it's much less compared to what you're going to get at the NCAA level. But one big strength to the ACHA is that there's no rules. There's no recruiting timelines that you have to follow. There's no, I can talk to this team only on this date. It's really great because you can text coaches, you can email them, you can call them all on your own time. Whether they obviously answer right away is up to them depending on your age, but it's a much more relaxed experience in regards to kind of figuring out where you're going to go in that process. I do think, though, that always the best way to reach out to a coach first is by email. And again, we'll kind of go over that individually with everybody on the call over time. But those are the general, main differences of NCAA and ACHA. At the NCAA level, you can also get athletic scholarships. At the ACHA level, you cannot. Most of those are given at the D1 level. D3 doesn't have the ability to give out full athletic scholarships. So there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot that goes into figuring out, it would be better for me to play NCAA or it would be better for me to play ACHA. And again, we kind of dive into that with everybody's process. But from the NCAA standpoint to June 15th of your sophomore year is when you have the ability to talk with D1 coaches as well as D3 coaches. So you will not be able to have any communication with coach prior to that. You can reach out to them. However, they can't actively respond to you or have an actual conversation with you until June 15th of your sophomore year. And then you also can't do any official or unofficial visits until August 1st of your junior year. So what does that mean? So official visits are, the school has paid for you to come visit and you stay with the team, you spend time with the team. You obviously get to spend time with the students. You'll get assigned a student as well. So you'll go to class with them that day. You'll stay in their dorm room that night. And then an unofficial visit is, you pay on your own to go visit that school and maybe you meet the coach and you go see a game. So you can't do, you can obviously visit a school whenever you want, but in regards to an official visit, that doesn't actually happen until the 1st of August of your junior year. So again, really got to peel the onion back on what option fits for you. But there's a lot of different things that go into this process. So these are kind of our two, big governing bodies of this is what I can play as a female college athlete. So I put this up here because I think that most athletes, or at least most athletes I work with, their thought process is, I'm a student athlete, and if I want to play in college, I want to go D1, and no other option matters. It's D1 or bust. And I think that the mindset of this really needs to change. And I think that there's a lot that goes into the general process. But my goal in working with our Kachinas is, how do we change this mentality? I think having a D1 goal and a D1 aspiration is amazing, and we will absolutely support you. But there's a lot that goes into actually having the ability to play D1 sports. And so, my goal is to make sure that, we're managing your expectations and we're managing, what that process looks like for you, and understanding that, if we don't go D1, it's okay, right? Division III is incredibly competitive. ACHA is incredibly competitive. So we want to get you away from this mindset of, going D1 is my only option, because there's really a lot of other options out there, and everybody is different. Everybody's process is different. Everything that you do is unique to you. And just because maybe your teammate or a friend is going D1, there's a lot that goes into maybe why they're going to play D1 sports. So my goal is to, adjust this process a little bit and still support you if your dreams are to go D1, but also be more realistic on maybe what these goals and aspirations look like, what it takes to get there, and where, your talent fits into that. And so I love showing this because I don't think that people actually realize what it kind of looks like to play Division I sports. So this is based off of 2020 stats from the NCAA, and this is the probability of competing in women's college hockey. So registered, there's about 9,600 high school hockey student athletes. This is, this doesn't take into account your programs like us, like the Kachinas, where we're an elite club program, if you will. It doesn't count all of those. So obviously this number is much higher in regards to who's actually playing the sports, but they only do it by high school athletes. But it shows you, based on all of these kids that are playing, only 8.9% of them actually make it to Division I, and 16.2% make it to Division III. So I'm happy to share with people this link and what this looks like based on other sports if you have interest. But it just kind of shows you the realism of actually going to play Division I. And it's a very hard task to do. It doesn't mean that anyone in our association can't do it. It just means, how do we provide you with a process that's going to be, help you be successful in the classroom and on the ice, and what your overall college experience wants to look like. So that's kind of my goal and my job with our association is, getting you to understand that there are other options out there, and how can we help you kind of achieve where you guys want to be, after you move on from whether it be your high school team or obviously if you just play Kachinas as well. So, we've talked a lot about, there's a lot that goes into this, right? And making this choice is, a big decision. This is kind of my analogy with it. So making a college decision is like putting the pieces of a puzzle together. It takes time, strategy, and a well thought out process. So for me, these are just some general, words that kind of stick out in thought process in regards to making this decision. So obviously our area of study is really important. Choosing a major and minor is not something that anyone should take lightly. It's also something that's going to change over time. A lot of you that might be on the call are on the younger side. What you might want to study now could potentially change in a year, in 2 years, and it might even change in 3 years. So it's not a matter of, you need to know what you're going to study right away, but starting to think about that is definitely important. You can go in undecided into your freshman year of college, and I've seen a lot of people do that, and then they end up kind of figuring out what they want to study as they go through that first year. That's definitely an option too. But you want to be, open-minded about that, because if you do go in undecided, you want to make sure that you're at a school that once you figure out what you want to do, that school has that. So there's a lot to kind of dive into there as well. Affordability, that's a big one, right? Where can I actually afford to go, and what are my scholarship options? What do I qualify for? Location is another big one. We've been fortunate, and everyone on the call here has been really fortunate to grow up in beautiful Arizona, where you're very much used to warm climate. Obviously, going out of state and getting into some of these other states where it's cold, maybe on the East Coast, you want to make sure that you're actually prepared for that. And if you actually want to deal with snow all the time, or, if you like the idea of 4 seasons, not everywhere looks like Arizona. So diving into that, that's a big piece of that as well. And then, of course, your social life, right? So, as high school student athletes, we definitely encourage everybody to make sure that you guys are still, not just focusing on just hockey and just school. You want to get out there, you want to be able to hang out with your friends and still feel like a normal high school kid. But when you get to college, some of those opportunities change depending on what level of college hockey you want to play. So do you want more time for other social experiences? Do you want to be able to go to the football games on Friday night? Do you want to go out and hang out with friends during the day? There's just a lot of different things that kind of fall into, what more goes into your kind of overall college experience, which is one of my biggest hot buttons in our process with our Kachinas, is kind of, putting pause on, what you're initially thinking and peeling that onion back and kind of saying, okay, no, I do maybe want a few more days a week to focus on my studies, or still have a little bit of a social life. Or, there's plenty of other student athletes out there that are like, what, I want to do really well in school, and then all my other time, I just want to focus on getting better and being the best I can on the ice. So we do a really good job, I think, of, pushing pause on that process and talking about what that looks like and what's actually really important to you, so that, when you do get there, your 4 to 5 years, depending how long, you stay, is exactly what you wanted it to be. We don't want you to kind of look back and be like, oh, I wish I did this, or I wish I did that. And then, of course, figuring out NCAA or ACHA, right? What option best suits your talent? What option best suits your goals, and your aspirations? What's going to be best for you? This is a really big piece of this, right? And the walls of NCAA and ACHA are really changing. To give you an idea, your Division I, the best of the best play D1. And then, your D3, your best D3 can compete with your low end D1. Your best ACHA Division I teams compete really well with your lower end Division III teams. And a lot of that is going to be determined on just different skill level, where people end up. We're also seeing a lot of people that spend their whole, youth preparing for hockey, and then maybe they go play NCAA, and by sophomore year, they're like, do I really want to be spending this much time on this? So maybe some of them, we see a lot more happen now than we really ever have seen before, kind of talk about kids transferring from NCAA to ACHA because it's still competitive hockey, but they want to have a little bit more of, that college experience, that social life. So we kind of break that down with you and talk about those options and really spend a good amount of time just kind of figuring out, of course, 1, where does your talent lie, but then 2, what kind of experience do you want? So those are 2 really big ones for me. And then, of course, picking through recruiting rules, understanding, again, what you can and can't do, and then when you can do it all. So I kind of help you manage that. And then what school generally just makes sense for you. What is going to be the school, the college, the university that makes the most sense for you guys to be successful, of course, in the classroom, and on the ice. And there's just so many to choose from. So, figuring out what that process looks like is, something that takes a lot of time. So that's why doing it at the younger level is so important. So I'll kind of take you through what our general process is and what really my role here is with the Kachinas as Director of Player Advancement is working with every athlete in our Kachinas Association individually to figure out what their college process is going to be. Everybody's is different, and we work together alongside your parents to figure out, okay, what is your process like? What are the steps going to be? How are we going to help you get essentially from where you are right now to essentially where you want to be by the time you're a senior in high school. So our first step in our process in working together is really, I have you fill out this initial college form. It's a very basic form. It's obviously your first name, last name, and then it kind of goes through just your general thoughts of what you might want to study, what, location-wise, where do you maybe want to be, where are you at in your current process. And so I can give that to you if you don't have that. I'm going to, provide you guys with my contact information if you don't already have that. But once you fill that out, we then kind of sit down together with your parents and have our first initial meeting. It's a very generic meeting. We review that form together. And then, just kind of talk about what you're initially thinking, what you initially want to get out of your college experience. We kind of dive a lot into that. And then from there, our goal is to essentially establish a list of schools and programs that, make sense based on your form. So I create a form, a list for you guys. You will also create a list on your own, and then we will come back together and we review those lists together. And then from there, I kind of color code it based off of, okay, green means these schools are the ones we should really be focusing on because one, you have interest in them, and two, they make sense talent-wise. And then we have a general kind of a color coding system from there where, yellow schools are maybe schools that if we don't get anywhere with these green schools, our top interest schools, we can start to focus on those. And then red are maybe, some that you put down and I put down that might be more of stretch schools. So we kind of dive into all of that together. I'm a resource for you the entire way there. And then from there, it gives me a list that I can work off of to start coaching or start contacting coaches on your behalf and having the conversations of, hey, this is a kid you don't want to miss out on. This is what she's great at. This is what she's going to continue to improve upon over X amount of years. And this is what you'd be getting out of this kid. So honestly, it's my favorite part. It's when I get to brag about you guys and talk about your work ethic, what you're like as a person, how you perform in the classroom, and then of course, your talent on the ice. So it's really fun to go through that with these coaches, and I've got a really good base of connections with these coaches. If I haven't played with them, I know them, and if I don't know them, someone that I know does know them. So I will be able to help you get in touch with the right coaches and start to help you and really get you on the phone with these coaches, of course, when you're able to. And just start these conversations and helping you manage those conversations as well. And so from there, I like to meet if I can once a month. I know that gets hard with everybody's schedules, but, we work over email as well. So the rest of the process is really just managing that timeline and providing you guys the resources that you need to be successful throughout this process. And there's, again, a lot that goes into that too. So I make a timeline, for the athletes that we work with. I'm going to show you an example of one here in a minute, but I'll be able to provide you guys with some general email templates for a lot of different scenarios, right? Maybe it's your first email that you're sending out to coaches. Maybe it's a response to something that a coach sent you. I've got those email templates. I'll help you write them if you want to do it on your own. I'll help you, fix them if they might need some work. So I'm going to be a resource for you all the way in all of your communication. I've got a list of questions to ask coaches, questions to expect from coaches. And then conversation etiquette is a really big one. It's something that I don't think a lot of us think about, but I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with coaches before in my past, and they were like, I think you've got a great kid on your hands, but she doesn't really know how to talk to me very well. And there's a lot that goes into just general conversation etiquette and talking with these coaches. It speaks a lot to your character and things of that nature. So we go over that as well. And then building you a resume. This is something that I think is really important. It's very easy to build, and they're really easy for coaches to just get an overall idea of who is this kid, what does she do outside of hockey, how does she perform in the classroom, does she volunteer, does she take time to, do maybe play other sports, maybe you're involved in other clubs. It's just a really nice way to attach it to an email where you're not writing these really long emails. Just go ahead and attach this resume that we'll build together. And it's a nice way for these coaches to kind of get to know you before they really start to have the ability to speak with you, whether that be through email or over the phone. And then at the end of our process and end of our time working together, the whole big point of this is to find a school that you end up loving and you're excited about from both the school perspective, of course, and the hockey perspective, and then making your college announcement. I know that for the younger ones on the call here, you saw that we did some college announcements this past year, which is we're excited about. It's always really fun to see, where they started, what that process was like, and then where did they end up committing, and obviously just making sure that you guys are really happy about that commitment. We want you to love the school, because if for whatever reason, of course, knock on wood, if anyone gets hurt, we want to make sure that you guys still wake up every day and love going to class. So this is the kind of quick overview of what this process looks like. And like I said, there's a lot of other things that go into this. There's a lot of other questions that you're going to have. Everybody's process is different. What you're interested in, someone else is going to have different ideas and what they're interested in. So this is just a very high level overview. Keep in mind, there's a lot more that we'll dive into as we start to kind of get to know each other better and have more individualized meetings and kind of really start this process for everybody. And so, a suggested timeline, what to do, when to do it. I get this question a lot, so I thought that this would be great for especially some of the younger kids that might be on this call. What to do and when should I be doing it and what does this all look like? So from a freshman perspective, it's really just starting to research your options. If you're a Kachina, which everyone is, working not only with your coach, but myself, and to establish your plan, to start to kind of talk about everything that we just went through with that process. And then attending as many highly recruited camps and clinics as you can. That bullet is obviously across the board. I didn't put it under every sophomore, junior, and senior, but it's important to get out of state and outside of the tournaments that we go to. It's important for you guys to attend these camps and clinics if you can. We're fortunate, though, too, that we've got ASU and GCU here locally, and I know that they both run prospect camps. So if you can't get out of state, I highly suggest attending both of those, because you're going to get a different experience at both. And then, of course, just continuing to develop your skills, really honing in on, where am I at now? What do I need to improve on in order to play at the level that I want to play at? So by sophomore year, you want to have your resume ready to send to coaches. You want to start to build video footage. So this is really important, and I know that we were really fortunate this past year to have some of our parents take footage. So I'm hoping that continues, as we kind of go along, because that's important. Being in Arizona, obviously, we're not the most highly recruited state, and that's mostly just because the schools just don't have the budget, and I think that we're going to see that change over time, but we need to really get you as much video as we can, and I'm there as a resource to help you put that together as well. So I'm here for you every step of the way. And then filling out those general college recruiting templates, you can just find those right online. If you Google a school and then you look at their hockey website, they've got a recruiting template. You want to make sure that you fill those out just to initially get on their radar. And then you yourself can start to reach out to some of these coaches as well once you fill out those templates. Again, whether they can come back to you and respond or not is going to be based off of when you send those emails on the dates that we discussed. And then if you're looking to go Division I, and we feel together as with your coaches, myself, and of course your parents, if we feel as though, the potential of playing Division I hockey is very real, you'll want to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center, and that's a process in and of itself. So I'll be there to help you guys out and walk you through that as well. And then by junior year, we want you guys to actively be talking with coaches, starting to really narrow down your top schools that you're going to want to focus on. You want to continue to share video, collect video, and put that all together in a highlight reel. And I think it's important, too, to kind of talk about that video footage really quickly as well. We want to make sure that we're showcasing you at your best and also showcasing you when you make mistakes, because no one's perfect and you are going to make a mistake. You're going to turn the puck over. You might not have the best back check. They want to see how you respond to these things. So they don't want to just see you scoring 10, 15 goals. They want to see, okay, I turned the puck over. How hard do I back check it? And how hard do I work to get that back? So we'll dive into what that video should look like to make a professional to send. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to get you that. And then you'll want to start, diving into visiting schools. So, unofficially and just taking general college visits is important for you to get out of Arizona if you're looking to go out of state and start seeing some schools. It's going to also help you kind of realize, do I like a big school? Do I like a small school? Would I like being in a state with 4 seasons? It's going to get you out of here to showcase a lot of different options that you have. And then from a school perspective, you want to take the SAT and the ACT. And then by the time you're a senior, we want you to be applying to schools. You're going to fill out FAFSA. So this is for parents that might be listening. I can go over this with you as well, but FAFSA is for scholarship opportunity. It shows you what you qualify for. And there's a lot to dive in there. So we can kind of go over that together. And then we want you to start doing some official visits if it makes sense to do so. So I'll pause there really quick too. Not everybody does an official visit. If you're going D1, you definitely do. And D3 as well, but you can go to a school and you can commit to a school without actually doing an official visit. I think they're very important. I think if you can do them, you should, especially because they're paid for by the university or the college. So it's just a matter of, breaking that down by each individual and kind of figuring out what that really looks like. From the ACHA standpoint, again, you don't have these rules. So if you're looking to go ACHA, you can obviously visit a school and talk with that coach. So that can happen anytime in this timeline. But from an NCAA standpoint, we definitely want to make sure that by a mix of both junior and senior year, we're getting you out to some of these official visits and starting to really figure out where you're going to end up committing. And then, just staying in contact with a variety of schools is really important. For whatever reason, we see this happen a lot. Where maybe you make a commitment and then your mind changes and you want to go somewhere else, or something falls through, whatever it may be. It's important for you to at least keep these conversations open with other schools while still being honest. So we'll talk about that as well in your process and how that will look, and right and wrong ways to kind of go about that. But from a perspective of college hockey, that's pretty much a general overview. But I do just want to say, there's so much that goes into this process, and the whole point of my job with the Kachinas is to, outside of coaching our 19U team, is really just managing this process for you and helping you guys, get from where you are now to where you want to be. And for some of you, that's going to be the ACHA, and some of you, that's going to be the NCAA. But the process is cumbersome. There's a lot that goes into it, and I think that there's a lot that athletes think without, thinking about all the other things that kind of go into making that decision. And that's my job, is to manage your expectations and give you guys honest and upfront feedback, where we think that you fit talent-wise. And that will be a mix of, myself, and then, of course, what team you're on, talking with those coaches. So there's a lot that goes into this, but that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you guys manage this and, really help you guys be really excited by the time you're a senior about figuring out where you're going to go to school, and of course where you're going to continue your hockey. So that's our goal. That's kind of my overview, just general information on that. Christine, if anyone has any questions, happy to answer those. And kind of turn it over to questions if we want to do that.
No questions just yet.
Okay. So if anyone does have questions, definitely, I know that I get them on a daily basis, so I know people have them. But if for whatever reason we don't get any here in the next few minutes, then we'll call it a little early. But this is my email, so start with the Coyotes email. I do own my own company doing this, but it's separate from the Kachinas. So if you do have any questions, feel free to email me. If you're on the call and we haven't started this process together, then shoot me an email. We can kind of get going on this. And, again, the sooner that we start to work together, the better, so that we can really manage your expectations, and especially those that have NCAA aspirations. We really want to start working together as soon as possible, so that we, make sure that, we're getting you where you want to go. So we'll kind of pause for questions. If anyone has some, definitely let us know in the question box. And if not, then we'll end it early, and then feel free to, shoot me an email if you do have any other questions. As they're making my job easy on me with no questions here.
Yep, still no questions. So, oh wait, here we go. Can we commit to a team after our freshman year of college?
Yeah, you can if you're looking to transfer, or if you didn't initially want to play and then maybe you do want to play, you're already at the school, so you don't necessarily have to commit. But I think this is from a general, I'm assuming, Isabella, that the question is from, if you go somewhere your freshman year and then you end up deciding that you want to play after that. Yeah, you definitely can do that. There's a whole process to transferring though. There's a portal that you kind of have to go through if you're going the Division 3 or Division 1 route. If you're going the ACHA route, you can obviously, again, there's no rules there. So if you go freshman year and you end up wanting to go somewhere else, you can just drop school and go to another school and start with a new team. But yeah, you certainly can commit to a team after your first year of college, but it's much harder to do at the NCAA level compared to the ACHA level.
Oh, here we go. What do you think is a good GPA to have?
I think that depends, on your own personal expectations. I think obviously a standard GPA that I'll just throw out as my example, like I said earlier with at where I went at Utica, we needed a 3.2 to play. But I think it comes down to where do you, feel, is a successful base for you. Obviously having a 4.0 looks great on job applications coming out of school. Anything above 3.5 I think looks really good, but it also depends on what you're studying. I mean, peeling that onion back is a lot too. I mean, if you're going into a medical field and you're fielding anything over 3.5, and that's incredibly impressive. I genuinely think as student athletes, anything above a 3 is impressive because again, you're on a full-time job. I mean, plus on top of all your credits that you're taking, which is a base of 12 credits. So I think GPA is personal. I think as long as you're hitting that clearinghouse GPA, as long as you're hitting your team GPA and of course your league GPA, you're obviously in the clear, but you always want to, I think, push yourself to be better in the classroom, and the higher the GPA, the better it looks on your applications for jobs once you guys do graduate from college.
Awesome. Next question is, we're looking at ASU, but thinking about doing community college for a year and playing a second year of 19U Kachinas. What's your opinion about doing this?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And I've actually been fielding this question a lot more lately. I think for those of you that are 16s and 19s now, we didn't have this process, and we didn't have the Kachinas. So I don't think that you guys have been able to get the help that you've truly needed, just with what the hockey landscape was. So now we're kind of seeing some people at the 16s and 19s that do want to compete at a higher level in college, kind of saying, well, I might need another year to develop. I think if it makes sense for you, I think it's a great option because you can get a lot of your prereqs out of the way so that once you do go to a 4-year university, you don't have to take some of those core classes that a lot of us do genuinely have to take, like intro, your gen ed classes, English, math, history, those types of things, those general electives. So it does put you in a good position academically going into the first year of your 4-year university. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense for everybody. It's very personalized. I think that if you are by your junior and senior year, if you don't have a good idea of where am I going to go, what program is going to help me be successful, where is a program that I can go and actually play versus taking some time to sit on the bench or be in the stands before I get ice time. Or if you're like, I haven't even really talked to coaches yet, I don't feel ready to go anywhere, then I think another year, what we call like a post-grad year or a gap year, is a great option because it gives us extra time to talk with coaches, gives us extra time to do a little bit more research and figure out, where are you going to be successful, what team makes sense for you, what school makes sense for you. So I know that's a really roundabout answer. It really does depend on the kid and what your goals are. But that's kind of those big differences there. If by junior and senior year you don't feel like you have any kind of idea of where am I going to go, maybe I haven't heard from anybody, I think it's a great idea. If you already have a really good idea of where you want to go, what you want to do, and you've been actively talking with coaches, I say don't take a gap year, commit and start your 4 years of school. And then after 4 years, you can go right into, getting a career. So I think it's definitely player dependent, but we can kind of dive that back and talk about those options, especially for some of our older kids on the call.
All right, that's all of them.
Good. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. If you do have questions, please email me. I know Christina's going to be posting this online as well. So, if you want to dive into it a little bit more, you can. But I'm here to be a resource for you. I will give you 100% of my effort. But, I obviously have to know if you're interested. So if you do start, want to kind of take this seriously and play college hockey, as you can see today, there's a lot that goes into that. So feel free to shoot me an email. Let me know. My information is on our website as well. So if you don't write it down now, you can definitely find me. I'll look out for some emails, and I'm excited to work with everybody. And hopefully all of this stuff with the coronavirus will be, done soon. We can get back on the ice. So just keep your heads up, stay focused. And if you have questions, you know where to find me. Thanks, guys.